Nice going. Uh,
Hi, everybody. This is our April Fool's episode, and as always, I am with Tina, home of Mew Minchi. Hi, Tina.
Hi, how you doing?
If you don't hear an echo at all, it's because I'm wearing an earpiece now, so I look like a news broadcaster. See, earpiece. Because I was tired of wearing a headset and it made my head hurt. Because my head's fragile.
Yeah. I use Turtle Beach, so I look like an actual gamer. So
Yeah, I have a gaming headset as well, which is what I was using, but I don't know. I think it's because I wear glasses. Maybe I don't. It makes my head hurt.
that's why I use Gunner gaming glasses that don't have the hook in the back, so I don't actually feel any of that. So
Yeah, the ones that I typically find that I like that have that spacing for glasses always they seem to be more expensive, but they're also the better quality ones anyway. And I feel like if I'm gonna pay for a headset that does that with the good cups on them, I want good quality headset. I don't want a cheap one. So I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I like the headset. It has a volume control and a mic control and all that stuff on the little cord thingy, and. So I guess I've gotten used to it. Anyway, so what do we want to do first here, Tina?
I think we should talk about Scoopgate because you saw my. I'm surprised it's still my threads are still there. I guess because they never really took me off properly. I don't know, or they just kept my posts there. I don't know. I guess some of my posts. I had like 100 posts, so I guess they kept my post there, which is good because I had a lot of good ideas. Especially for the tournaments that I ran for video game, and especially how I ran video game events. So I think we should talk about Scoopgate because I feel like with the $5,000 prizes that we have, it's more of an issue now than it was before we had the big money payoff for regionals. And I personally think that's causes people to be like, I need to do well to make Worlds invite, or they're more tempted to do it at a regionals, or they really want a playmat, or they really want to. I don't know. So,
which was funny because we were talking earlier off the air about the playmat thing, where the playmats have become such a high demand thing that people are legit doing some shady stuff, or in the case of some honest people, people will not judge events just so they have a chance of getting a playmat. Like, I had a judge sign up for this weekend's League Cup. He said, I kind of want the playmat, so I think I can win it. And he said, I'm gonna play for the playmat. So, like, the playmats have some real value.
I mean, especially this current playmat, the Mimikyu and Gengar playmat. I know at first some of the playmats weren't going for a lot of money, but now they seem to go for a lot of money. I mean, I don't know exactly why there were so much money because you do get playmats at all of the regionals you go to. But I guess there's certain art that people really, really, really like. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of the whole the Mimikyu Gengar. I actually like the Snorlax Eevee one better. That's just me. But of course, that's the regional one and not the Cup one. So
apparently, there is a two-player playmat floating out there, Pikachu Zekrom.
I've seen that. You can actually get those from your local distributor. I think stores can get those. So if you have a decent relationship with your store, this is what I heard, that you can potentially get one of those. But that's those are from local distributors. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah.
Because I would love one of those. It'd look awesome. But if they're a store like exclusive, I definitely would get one from my store. I think just because Wizards, we get them from Wizards, and Wizards sells them, or Ultra Pro sells them for like $30. To have one of those, because we always have a Wizards one set up, to have one like that for Pokemon always set up in the store, I think it's just a cool idea.
Well, I've seen stores have those Magic the Gathering, like, large table play mats.
Oh, the full
like,
table ones? Yeah, the 6-foot long ones.
Yeah, those I really like those because then I don't have to roll out my playmat, right? Because I actually like playing on the padded surface, but sometimes I really like to spread out my cards. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I just like when you have that big mat, especially the full table one. Like they had cloth ones at Dallas Regionals. I'm not a big fan of the cloth ones. But there's something about putting your elbows on that padding, that I really like.
Yeah. So anyway, so we go back to your post from last March, 2018,
and to remember, I can't read it. So
right. So essentially, and I don't want to give away any details because I mean I don't think your post even mentions anybody specifically, but it does mention the event.
It doesn't. Well, I don't know if we could actually talk about something on our professor forums because that's it doesn't mention any names.
Right. So we're not going to even mention the event.
Yeah, we're not. We're not going to talk about the event. I mean, this is a big issue with multiple events. And I like apparently. And I since I'm not a TO anymore, I can't see any of that stuff. But I've heard people getting banned over it, or like. And like my personal opinion, they should get DQ'd, but banned is a little bit. I don't know how I feel about that. If they don't done it multiple times, yes, of course they should get banned. I mean, but it's like you sent me the rules document earlier today, which said a game you can't like basically have any collusion. You have to play Pokemon, and that rule has actually been in the books since. The beginning of organized play. I remember in 2004, someone got DQ'd from an event because they tried to collude with their opponent, and it just didn't really happen that much back in the day. And for me, I don't know how other people feel about this, but as soon as we moved on to the large prize pool, that's when we had this more of a, hey, will you give me the win type of conversations, or the hey, I just want the mat. I'll scoop if you give me the mat. And there's a lot of tournament organizers who don't know that mat is worth a ton of money, depending on the mat. I mean. Like, at one time, it was the Jirachi mat that was selling for, like, $250 on eBay. That's crazy. I mean, that's absolutely insane. Like, imagine a new player, yeah, give me $250 and you can have your 50 points. I mean, that's 100% collusion, according to the rules. So, yeah, I think people have to... They have to be really careful about that. I mean, a lot of these people come from other games like Magic the Gathering, where you can prize split, but only in top 2. And I hear this a lot from Magic players coming over. Oh, but you can do it in Magic. Pokemon isn't Magic. And I think that's one of the bigger problems is and Magic makes it very clear that the only time you can offer the prize split is in top 2, and the reason Magic does that. Do you know why Magic does that? I
honestly don't know. I like whenever we need a judge for Magic, we hire somebody. So I honestly don't know.
Okay, so Magic has PTQs or whatever.
Right, that's when we hire a level 2 judge.
Yeah, and so. Basically, from what I understand, because I don't really judge Magic, is every time they have a Pro Tour, it could be, like, anywhere in the world. Like, they had one in February in London, right? And not everyone can go to London, right? But a lot of people like playing for fun, and they want the prizes, right? But let's say I'm in top 2. I want the box, right? But I don't want the invite to London because I can never afford going to London. I've actually talked to Magic players about this. They just want the prizes, but they don't want to go to London and play. They really don't want that. So what they do is in top 2, they say, hey, I don't really want to go to London. Do you want to go to London? And if the other person wants to go to some foreign event, they'll be like, hey, we can prize split, or they'll make out a deal. And most of the times, it's the person won't get like all of the product. They'll split it like 50-50 or something like that. So that's what I understand happens in Magic. And unfortunately, you can't do that in Pokemon. Or fortunately, you can't do that in Pokemon. But Pokemon's a completely different game than Magic. I mean, I personally think one of the reasons you can't do it in Pokemon is because you have the junior, senior age group. Magic the Gathering does have the kid group, but no one really plays in it. I mean, Magic really doesn't have age groups, so I think it's to prevent this. Oh, my kid did something in Top Cut, and their parent is really upset about it. I heard a story from a judge. I'm not saying who or what event, that they heard apparently it was a junior. And this was on Facebook, by the way. So this was on public domain. Not coming from me, another judge, that they heard a junior bribe another junior with a box for the win. And if you're a 9-10-year-old kid, that sounds like a good deal. But when the parent comes along, I was like, oh, you gave up your win for a box, right? I mean, that's when you can get, the argument is the kid didn't know what they're doing, right? So when you're dealing with that situation, I think that Pokemon is definitely doing the right thing with that, and I think Pokemon has what's it called, the spirit of the game rule, and that's something that has been in the rules for a very, very long time, since I started playing. And the spirit of the game rule is basically they want you to play the game.
Okay, so Rule 11.1, conceding a match, says, if they wish, players may make a single offer to concede a match to their opponent, a single offer, let's be very clear about that, or propose an intentional draw. You cannot do an intentional draw on the top cut, I'm just going to point that out. Judges should allow players the opportunity to offer a concession if time is called on an incomplete match, but before the player signs their match slip. Players are not permitted to request an opponent's concession. Repeated requests of this nature may be perceived as a coercion and penalized as such. So we had 2 examples. So in one case, it was the what was it? Hey, I just want the play mat. You can have the win. And then the other one was, what was the other one? I just want the points. You can have everything else. So are we treating them differently? And then you say no. But then there was an argument about what if they're a brand new player? And I don't feel like we should differentiate. But then the argument is, what if that brand new player got to second place? Why? Because obviously they got to first or second place, and then got up there. Why is it even a debate? Because obviously they're competent. I feel like somebody's lying.
I mean, the argument that they're a new player and you got second in the cup, and I mean, obviously you deck something, or you got to offer friend. And if you went through that much resources to get that, someone should have told you that you can't do that. And I think you should treat it the same according to the penalty guidelines. Because it's one is we all know you can't ask for the win. The other one is straight up collusion, saying I'll lose to you if you give me that. That's bribery. I mean, that's under bribery guidelines.
11.3, as a matter of fact. Bribery, yeah.
I mean, so one is bribery, the other one is flat out asking for the win. It's not the same thing in the penalty guidelines, but the outcome is the same in the penalty guidelines, which is both a DQ.
Yeah. So reading the discussions, because it is still an active discussion amongst professors, it was maybe we should just make them play it out no matter what.
No, it's a DQ. And the reason you never want to go light on it is the second you make an exception, the second someone else actually throws down a DQ is like, but they did it. This thing one place and another thing another place. And in Pokemon, we try to make things as fair as possible. I mean, I mean, it's like, imagine you like, hey, that's against the rules. You would usually get a DQ for that, but we're letting you play it out anyway. And then that person thinks they get away with it, and they do it again in another cop, and they get DQ'd, and they're like, oh, but I got a warning for at this other cop. But I think if they get DQ'd on their first time, they won't do it again, right?
But everything creates a precedence anyway.
Right. So let me tell you a story about myself, since I can talk about myself. Last League Cup, I'm gonna admit, my Tapu Lele, my one-up Tapu Lele is super old, super bent. It was curved in the sleeve, and obviously I wasn't cheating. It's just a really, really old Tapu Lele. And if you put it on the desk, it kind of, curved, and actually a lot of the old cards curved, and a lot of reverse hollows curved. And I got marked card major, which in a tier 1 event is a quad prize penalty. Okay? And yeah, I was upset about it, but guess what? I'm never playing with that Tapu Lele ever again. Okay? I retired it in my binder, in the back of my binder. So, but, if they're like, oh, we're gonna let it slide for this event, I could have played it in a completely different event and been like, hey, they let me slide in this event. Not saying I would personally do it, I would probably still retire it, but if you say, hey, this is a really big issue and all your other cards are, I bought 3 new Pikachu Zekrom, which, they're like in mint condition versus this one beat up Tapu Lele. I mean, so yeah, I mean, and I've been very tempted to invest in double sleeves or over sleeves after that incident last week. But to me, it's like, okay, I need to retire my Tapu Lele, which is unfortunate because it would have been nice to have maybe an event before, hey, Tina, this Tapu Lele is being worn out, don't play with it again type of thing. That would have been nice, but, it's not like I was... Look, if they thought I was cheating, they would have DQ'd me. And everyone who knows me, I shuffle very, very roughly. And you can talk to any of the judges here, or any of the players here, who've known me for a long time, that I shuffle very, very rough with my cards. And cards like Tapu Lele, who've been out for, since Guardian Rising, my Tapu Lele is going to be a little bit worn, to put it nicely.
Okay, so go ahead.
So that's why I think you kind of have to put the pedal to the metal sometimes. I mean, now there is times where you can go easy if someone is new, but it's very obvious when they're new. If they're playing a theme deck and they're in juniors and that they're at the bottom table, then you can have an argument on the fact that they're new, okay? But if they're playing some meta deck that's like, this GX or whatever, then they're not new. If they're playing freaking Zekrom Pikachu, they're not new. I hate to tell people that. If they're playing the Charizard theme deck, okay, they might be new, okay?
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious when someone's new. They're playing with like 30 energies, unless they're playing with like Gyarados, which are playing a lot of energies anyway. But like, even if someone has a few GX cards, you can tell just by looking at their deck if they're new or not. But if you make it to top 2 in a cup in Masters, I'm sorry, you're not new. I hate telling people that, but if you make it to the top 2 in a cup, you are not new. You did your research. Okay? You did your research or you had your friends help you. And you're like typing on your... I can hear like type.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm answering a question.
That's okay.
Alrighty, so we're in agreement then. No matter what, it's never a good idea, either points nor items. Now, I mean, so at lower levels where there is no top cut, such as a league challenge, maybe I should. I'm trying to figure out a proper way to phrase this. Okay, so it says here in the second part of conceding a match, if a player wishes to concede a match to their opponent, or if a player agrees to an intentional draw or ID, a judge or scoreowner must be called immediately and notified of the result so they can be recorded appropriately. Once the match slip has been signed by both players, the result of the match cannot be changed. Okay, so this is where we get into a little bit of trouble because a month or two ago, I think we had a discussion about this. It was the judge was aware, or the organizer was aware. Actually, this might have happened in Texas, but she was aware that the ID was discussed and that the pricing was going to be split in a certain way. But one of the players, one of the players had, I want to say, buyer's remorse, and filed a ticket saying, you know what, after the fact, he decided he didn't like the deal. And then he filed a grievance and a complaint, which ended up in the result of a ban of the player he had intentionally drawn with, or split price, whatever the terminology would be for the case of this situation. So I think this is where the discussion is now, where they're like, well, maybe we should just force them to play through and not allow a scenario where somebody can ask, especially in a top cut situation, hey, here's the split. But then now we have it, and this is particularly bad in Ohio, or maybe it's good. If you're a player, it's probably freaking excellent, where almost every store with a huge cash flow is throwing $1,000, $10,000, $5,000 tournaments at players, say for $15, $20, $25, $40, $45 entry fee. You can play in this tournament where you can win $500, $200, $100, whatever dollars. Are we creating a situation where, for a while, this is what Konami had going on with Yu-Gi-Oh!, where the players switched from being all about the game and more about the money? Is this what's going to happen? And how do we curve this? Because we're going to end up with that type of toxic. Now, I'm not saying all Yu-Gi-Oh players are this way. There's just a small group of them, and it's kind of disappeared from this area of Ohio. But for a while, there was just a specific group of Yu-Gi-Oh players that were just toxic to the community. And money was their whole driving factor, and they pushed out new players because they wanted to keep the money within the little group. And they don't exist here anymore, but I don't want Pokemon to end up that way here, because it got pretty bad, and it discouraged new players for a long time. So are we going to get into a situation now where, because there's so much money being thrown around, that we created our own little, Ponzi scheme? No, not Ponzi scheme. That's a horrible word for it. It's not quite a Ponzi scheme, but I don't know what else to say. Basically, it's some type of self-contained circuit where only those who are in the inner circle can participate. And basically, they all play in this circle. Nobody really loses any money because they're all constantly winning money. I don't. But then you just encourage more of this behavior. Well, you won last time, so you know what? You go ahead and win this time. So yeah, we should break even, or this match's great. I owe you $5 or whatever. This match will pay you back. I mean, we obviously don't know the inner workings of any player's mind for any game. But then we have to say, well, at what point are we losing the wholesomeness of a game to maybe greed, maybe ulterior motives? I mean, I'm sure there's probably spoilers out there who play the game just to mess with other people, but I don't know. And this is just me. I look at Pokemon as a more wholesome game than probably any other game. Which, for a number of Magic players locally, they think I'm salty about Pokemon or Magic. I'm not salty about Magic. I see Magic as an adult's game, and I see Pokemon as a family-friendly game. It's just the way it is. I see Yu-Gi-Oh! Somewhere in the middle. Because it's just the way the crowds were when I first started in these games. It's just, even though most of my players are now all adults, I have literally like one kid who plays Magic, and like 6 kids who play Pokemon, and like none that play Yu-Gi-Oh! But for me, I see all of these adults now as themselves still 10 years ago, because I basically still have all the same kids playing Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! That are as adults now that were playing when I started back in 2002, 2003, you know. So, yeah, I'm kind of in Pokemon. People know me as a Pokemon guy. But when these type of situations arise, I feel like we need to fix it. We need to figure out what the core problem is and try to say, well, what can we do to resolve it? And you see the discussions. Okay, so make them play through. Tell them they cannot concede. Well, it's in the rules. We can't ignore the fact that they can. 11.1 says you can't concede a match. You can ask one time for a draw. But you can't in the top cut. But I mean, you can ask, to concede or I mean, you can concede. It doesn't matter. But I mean, in a league challenge, you can split.
And I think that the whole you can scoop to your opponent will always be a thing, but you can't ask your opponent, hey, I'm going to scoop for you for whatever, right? Let me give you an example where I actually scooped to somebody. It was the last league challenge of the year. Someone I knew, they weren't really close friend of mine, but it was the last round of the last league challenge of the year, and they needed 15 points to go into Worlds. Okay? And they were 4-0, and I was 4-0, and we had one more round in the league challenge. I was playing Night March. They were playing something weak against Night March. And he didn't say... he was talking before the event about how he needed to win this event or he wasn't going to Worlds. He was just talking about it. He wasn't like, hey, asking people for the win, but he's like, yeah, I kind of need to win this event if I want to go to Worlds. So he was talking about it. We sat down, and I'm like, hey, you need 15 points to get to Worlds, right? And he's like, yeah. And so, like, I asked him basically, are you playing for points, right? And he said, yes. And so I'm like, he's like, well, so why are you here for the event, Tina? I'm like, I'm only here for the Greninja promo. And I didn't ask him for the Greninja promo. I said, I'm only here for the Greninja promo. And, I was going to get second place anyway, right? Because, I was X1. And so I was like, dude, I'm not going to screw you over from Worlds. I scooped to him. It was cool, right? And then, I got my second place Greninja promo. And then he's like, hey, Tina, you're really cool about this. I just want to give you my first place Greninja promo. I didn't ask for it. I did not ask for it. He just gave me it. I mean, if he wants to do that, he wants to do that. But, like, I wasn't going to screw him over his Worlds invite. I mean, that's when I think scooping to someone is justified, because I didn't ask anything of him. He didn't ask me anything. I just knew that he wanted his Worlds invite, and I'm like, okay, this guy's from my area. I'm not going to get into Worlds, right? And so I scooped to him, right? And, he went to Worlds. So I think there are situations where, if someone's your friend or whatever, that you can scoop to them. Right? So I don't see anything harm with scooping to someone as long as you don't ask for something, because then they get into bribery and collusion.
I was like, how do we explain collusion? I didn't put because what you don't see on your end is I actually have screen captures of what we're talking about. So collusion, more or less, is when two parties decide on doing something that benefits them both mutually. Um, so that is generally and you can go look up dictionary.com if you want, but that is generally what collusion is. And so you can't what is that word? You can't concede and not get anything out of it, and it'd be considered collusion. So, I mean, collusion requires you to also win something. So if you just give it up, it's called pity. If you give something up to somebody for nothing, it's called pity. You pity them. You pity the foo, as Mr. T once said. And, yeah. But,
Collusion is. Let me give you a great example of collusion. Not that anyone should ever do this, and Pokemon would probably kill me if you're using this as an example of a collusion. But collusion does not have to be between two people. It can be between multiple people. And that's what people don't understand when Pokemon talks about collusion. Now, a collusion is when you manipulate the tournament in your favor or manipulate the tournament at all. Okay? So let's say I'm at a league challenge and I really want to troll somebody one day, and I ask everyone for an ID, and the entire event IDs. And when IDs first came out, I think someone mentioned it on Facebook, well, what if every player IDs every round? That actually might be collusion. So, yeah, that I think people need to understand when it comes to collusion that, it can be with multiple people, and that's what Pokemon does not want to happen. That would be very bad. I mean, collusion can mean, a parent talking to another parent, or multiple parents. It can mean a lot of things, okay? But the rule of collusion is anything that will change a tournament outcome from playing Pokemon. Because in the penalty guidelines, it says multiple times that Pokemon wants you to be playing Pokemon, and they don't want any outside force to dictate that. That's why you can't roll a dice for the win. That's why you can't play rock, paper, scissors for the win. Okay?
There's rule 11.2 called random determination. Players may never determine the outcome of a match through random means, such as the ones you just mentioned. Other choosing methods are games such as rock, paper, scissors, which arguably have some degree of skill, are treated as random determination if used directly to determine the outcome of a match. Continue on.
So I think Pokemon wants to makes it very clear. It doesn't want you to play some outside force that uses random means to win Pokemon. But there's a lot of things that could be used as random means. So
Okay, so again, I have a League Cup on Sunday. Oh, so let's do this real quick. If you are in the Northern Ohio area, or anywhere, I mean, basically you can live in Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Kentucky. I feel like people who really need to be at a League Cup will drive the next state over. So there are two League Cups happening here. There's In the Zone Cards and Games in Ashtabula on April 6th, which is a Saturday. And they're doing a League Cup, and so you can hit them up. You can check them out on Facebook at In the Zone. I think Cards and Games is In the Zone Cards and Games. I think that's the whole name. Check them out. And then we're doing ours on Sunday the 7th. It's level 2 games in Avon, Ohio. And we start registration at noon, and then the tournament starts at 1. And our entry is $5. I do not have off the top of my head in the zones details, but both League Cups. The one thing I'm doing differently is I'm doing a Premier Challenge because the Ultra season just started. So if you also play the video game, and basically we're going to probably start the Premier Challenge after the Top Cut break starts or ends or something around there. When the rounds end and Top Cut begins. So if you play the video game and want to get some CP for that, there's a way to go. So don't miss those this weekend. But going back to the fact that we have those, so because I haven't talked to my head judge yet. I mean, we discussed it a little bit, and we're still kind of like, we're not quite sure how to handle it. Like, we're going to go into this League Cup, and we're going to say what? What are we going to say? Okay, guys, you've heard the problems. You know people have gotten banned and disqualified from League Cups for even hinting at the fact they wanted to collude, I guess. Maybe some of them may not even know what the word collude means, but what do we say to them? What are we going to go to them and go, hey, guys, just don't do this. Don't get yourself in, because we don't want to have to ban you, or not ban you, disqualify you, and then end up getting you banned.
Right. So, where I live, and actually since the post I made on that, since that incident, and I don't like talking about it because I'm not part of the forums anymore, but since it did, I mean, in my area, what they do, and not because of that one post, don't think I'm talking about something I shouldn't be talking about, because this happens all over the place, but I think what you need to do is at the beginning of the event, you make an announcement saying, hey, you can't ask for the win, and you can't offer anything for the win, and you can't ask for anything physical in placement for the loss. Okay? And you say that and say, if this happens, if this event, you will get DQ'd. And as soon as you say that, no one does it. And especially if you enforce it at that event, no one will do it after that event. Okay? Because if someone does it, they have zero excuse. And if someone does it, you said, I announced at the beginning of the event. They can't deny that. Right? So I think, there's a mentality of that was their warning, even though they don't need that warning. And it's been very effective in the area I live in. Extremely effective. And I suggest any organizer or head judge listening to this right now, use this tactic. And if anyone does do it, you unfortunately DQ them. And, it's up to organized play, of course, to give out the ban, but that's when you make a support ticket and put in your feelings of, was it because of the money? Was it intentional? Are they a new player, right? Because some of the experienced players, I think Pokemon looks at them and expects more from them, right? Unfortunately, there's that perception if you gotten your world invite, or if you gotten top cutted regionals, you should know better. But anytime you have a DQ or something of that nature, you should make a support ticket along with that penalty and kind of explain the situation in more depth. Because on the sheet that they give you, in the Excel word sheet, it doesn't give you a lot of room, let's be honest. So, I think it's very important for judges to have an eye in that situation. And there's a lot of communication skills talking to both parties on what happened, so you can write a ticket, because like I said, at the end of the day, it's OP's decision to ban anyone. But it would, in my personal opinion, it would be very unfortunate for them to ban someone who legitimately switched over from Magic to Pokemon, being that you can do that in Magic, like I said, top 2. And like if that happened at my League Cup, and someone's like, "Hey, this is allowed in Magic," and I said that you can't do that at the beginning of the event, and they say, "Well, I forgot." And I'm like, "You're still DQ'd," but I might write a support ticket and be like, "Hey, I think this person was, sincere, and they didn't do it on purpose," or it's hard to say that though when you make the announcement at the beginning of the event. And I don't, since you were not naming any names of, who got banned or whatever, but I feel like, I really feel like you're more likely to get in trouble at a higher level event than, something like a league challenge, right? And I'm not saying you should do it in a league challenge. I'm just saying that, in general, if someone said, "Hey, Tina, will you scoot to me in a league challenge?" Yeah, they get DQ'd from a league challenge. But I really hope that, OP wouldn't, the organized play wouldn't ban them for doing that in a league challenge, unless there was they've done it multiple times, and they've done it they did another league challenge or something like that. It was a repetitive action they've done over a long period of time. Even if there was their third or fourth time, it would be concerning. But if someone does it once and they're legitimately, they didn't know, I really hope organized play would actually do an investigation on that. But I wouldn't know how deep those investigations go. But I feel like I hope they would.
I always think Pokemon investigators coming up to my doorstep dressed in trench coats that have Pikachu's design on the back or something. Kind of like yellow and brown Akatsuki or something.
I don't like talking about this because I know how I feel. I know how I feel about how they dealt with my situation. But I'm trying to take a step back and not be biased about how I feel about that. But when it comes to other people, not talking about, myself and that, right? Let's be honest. No one is perfect. And that goes to organized play as well. And you kind of have to give them that. And it's very hard for them as a company saying, "Hey, we messed up here," because it makes them look really bad. Pokemon, I've never seen them apologize. Well, no. I'll take that back. I've seen a Pokemon organized play apologize once, and that was Worlds 2016. I believe they apologized for that somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know when I was at Worlds 2016, I was talking to one of the OP members. I'm like, "Hey, it's a little cramped in here, right?" And apparently there were some venue issues, and I actually heard a story that I was like, "Okay, I understand why this happened." And organized play did a really good job the year after in Anaheim. I loved going to Anaheim, and Anaheim Convention Center is a great location. It's just that one year in 2016, unfortunately, they didn't have enough room for everybody, and I really hope, and we have a long way to go with Pokemon, but it's just very disheartening sometimes to see social media and the witch hunt set go on social media. But I think we've come to a point where we've had this "you can't ask your opponent to scoop" rule long enough that you have to DQ people. It's that simple. And if organized play says that, we want to make examples of these people so it doesn't happen, that's their call. I mean, at the end of the day, it's their game. They allow us to play, right? We were given the privilege to play, and that's how, in my opinion, organized play sees it. And it's not like organized play is going to smack you across the face for no reason. Well, I'm not gonna. I shouldn't say that, but because sometimes I think they do really rash things to some people. Not just myself. But like hearing that someone got banned for asking for the win, it's a little bit much. Like I said, unless they've done it multiple times, I'm going to shut up about this unless I get in trouble. But like, for them to get, if I was organized play, for me to ban someone for asking for the win, it would have to be definitely more than once, right? That's how I feel about it.
Well, depending on which case we're talking about, the extenuating circumstances of the opponent not knowing the ramifications of accepting the terms and then having, as I said, buyer's remorse after the fact, I think was what made it worse than it probably would have been otherwise.
Well, the thing is, him accepting the bribe, technically he can get in trouble for that as well. Now, I don't know if organized play did anything to him either, but you offering the, look, let's say, we're not talking about Pokemon right now. If I offer you a bribe, and you take the bribe, and that goes to a legal process, we can still both get in trouble. I mean, I'll probably, as someone in the bribee, I could get a bigger sentence for that legally, but since you took the money, you still could get in trouble. So when that person said, yes, I took that money from a bribe, they could have gotten in trouble. Now, I don't know if they got in trouble or not. Should they? That's up to organized play. So, I mean, but in a legal sense, outside of Pokemon, yes, they should have gotten in trouble. And you see that in court cases all the time with bribery. Even with I'll give you this money if you don't say anything. Your assets to knowledge that you should have known. I was watching the Theranos, I think that's how you say it, scandal, where some of these people knew what was going on. The CEO and her boyfriend, both of them, were complicit. And you don't have to necessarily do anything. It's like if you see a murder and you're not a witness, and you kind of like, oh, I don't want to be involved, and you don't come forward with your side of the story. I mean, like, there's so many things. Like, if you're in a bank robbery and someone gets killed, you could be an asset to murder, even if you didn't pull the weapon, right? So the guy who reported the situation, saying, yes, I took the money, I think he put himself in a bad situation. I really do. And it's not because people view him as a snitch. I mean, he had every right to come forward and say what he did, because I think that post was public. But I think there's a lot more behind that story as well, because supposedly the person who did it was a big name player, and there is that, wow, that person's a big name player, and the power and influence, and there's this perception of I really look up to this person, and it's the old power grab. And I mean, it's hard for me to understand that sometimes, but you see that in society where if someone in power is abusing the power, people don't like talking about that. They really don't. And sometimes that doesn't come out until 30, 40, 50, 60 years later. But I think that maybe, Pokemon needs to really look into that situation and be like, why is he making this statement? He just wants to get this other guy banned, but he took the money. And this is my personal opinion, that one screenshot, he could have easily bought something that wasn't. I mean, yes, the amount of money was the exact the right amount of money. We're not arguing that. The money was there. The amount of money made sense for the price split. Okay, I'm not saying it wasn't, but Pokemon was like, this is enough information for us, so they banned the guy, right? But just because something is online and just because someone has a screenshot of something doesn't mean it's true. And I say that because things can be photoshopped, things can be tampered with, accounts can be duplicated. And we've seen that on Facebook where accounts have been duplicated. I mean, it happened to me, right? And it happened to a good friend of mine as well. And so, I mean, we have to be really careful. I mean, but I think Pokemon does its best when it comes to social media. It really does. But I think there's some things you should do on social media and things you shouldn't do. And one of the things you shouldn't do is make a fake account of somebody else. That's the lowest thing you can do to try to get somebody in trouble. But I don't know if that happened or not. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know the entire story of that, and I don't know if we will ever know the entire story of what you're talking about. But if there was collusion, and the player knew better because it was a top player, and Pokemon felt like, if Pokemon felt like this player should have known better, and this person 100% knew better, and they knew that they were breaking the rules, I think that justifies the ban. I do. Because for Pokemon, there's a clear line of, do they know what they're doing wrong, or do they not know what they're doing wrong? And in the eyes of organized play, sometimes if you don't know what you're doing wrong, as like a new player or something like that, maybe they'll take that into account. I don't know. I really don't know how they think. Maybe they talk about it, go over evidence, see how long you've been playing the game. Have you gotten top cut to regionals in the last, 4 to 5 years? Something like that. I don't know. I think it's a really sticky subject.
Okay. Okay, so the goal then for me is on Sunday to go in and say, hey, so we have to say, basically explain what collusion is. If you wish to, how do I want to put this? If you wish to concede, you must do it without offering anything in exchange for doing so. I feel like that is the most simplest way to state it. And if you do, you will be disqualified. I feel like if that's not clear, and then there's something broken inside of them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you want to make it clear is like, yes, you can scoop to your opponent, but you can't ask it for anything in return. You make it very simple so people understand it.
Yeah, because I feel like, because based on the conversation I'm seeing on both the forums and the chat, there's just too many voices, and I feel like maybe that you just be direct and make it simple as understanding as possible. Plus,
Right.
keep in mind there are going to be kids there. I don't have a lot of kids, but I feel like make it understandable. Kids, if you want to quit your game, do it knowing that you're not going to get anything from it.
Right, and you want to make it very clear not to joke about it either, because because I've had that. Actually, I'm not gonna say who and I'm not gonna say where, but a good friend of mine drove me to an event and we were paired first round, and he was joking, "Oh, you should scoop to me," and that can be a sticky situation, right? You do not want to get yourself in that situation.
No, I've seen stories where people are like, "Oh, you know what? Since I drove you here, I mean, you can either walk home or, eh." You just don't want to be saying that type of thing, especially with a judge around.
Yup, and you might want to say something about that before your event. That
no joking. Yes.
Zero, because we sometimes, honestly, I don't know if you're joking or not. Honestly.
Oh yeah,
sometimes I don't know. And like I said, once you give someone a warning for it, then everyone's joking about it, right? And then, of course, not everyone's joking about it. I mean, I think this situation's unfortunate. And I mean, if someone says, if you don't scoop to me, I'm not driving you home, I mean, that's kind of a jerk move.
Yeah, it
is. I hate to say that. That's kind of a jerk move.
Okay.
Honestly, and I'm gonna say this honestly, there was a mom here who has 2 juniors, and they're the only 2 juniors who play video game here. And she had this discussion to her kids that, because you only can max out to a certain amount of points, so they only can both win 2 premier challenges every season.
All right.
So she goes to 4 premier challenges every season. So one son can win 2, and the other son can win 2. So she tells her sons in private before the event in the car or whatever, and she's like, "Okay, you're gonna win this event, and your brother's gonna win the other event." And they don't talk about that in front of me. They don't talk about it at the event. And the only reason I know about this is, she's like, "Hey, is it possible if my kids swap wins?" I'm like, "Well, one would have to scoop to the other, but they can't ask for the concession." But if you're in a car and be like, "Hey, I'm going to scoop to you today," then I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, it's one of those things like, yes, you have a right to scoop to your friend, right? Like I said before, I had a friend that needed 15 points to get in the Worlds. I scooped to him, right? You can do that, but you don't ask for anything in return. Of course, when you're brother and sisters, it's a little bit different because
you gotta live with them.
Yeah, you gotta live with them, and especially when you're juniors, the money goes to the same place, which is the parents at the end of the day, or it goes to the same family. But you don't want a brother asking a brother to scoop to them. That you can't have that in an event. I actually had that once. A brother asked another brother for a scoop, and yeah, it's a DQ. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know who you're related to in the event. I look, if one of my parents played in a Pokemon event, and I asked them to scoop to me because they're my parents, people would look at me really weird because I don't look anything like my parents. Okay? And it would be like, "What do you mean that they're your family member?" I mean, like, no one would believe me. Okay? And for those who've met my parents, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know who you're related to. Do they have the same last name as I do? Of course, but they look nothing like me. Like,
Oh, yeah, I was going to say,
so
when I was looking through pre-registration for this weekend, there are people with the same last name that I know for a fact aren't related, so...
right, and you can have that. Like, they have the last name Smith or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens.
Okay, so do you want to move on to our super expanded card game?
Yes. Let me give you my screen name.
Yeah, send it to me via instant messenger or something.
Can I just tell you it, or
I don't think you want a whole bunch of people, like, friending you online or something. Plus, I don't really want them doing that to me either. So that's why my screen isn't popping up. I mean, plus, I realize the 2,000 people watching live that pop in and out. I mean, you don't know about the people who watch later, who, you know...
I sent to you on Facebook. And we have to challenge each other at the exact same time. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that, but give me a sec. Oh. That's interesting.
So, you know that Magic Arena code that's worth like $200?
Is that the one that Ryan was? Well, you don't see the same thing I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, I heard about it.
So, I actually had one of those emails and I never used it, but I don't know where it is. I think I trashed it because I was in the beta.
I mean, I used mine. This is literally the only cards I have of that stature.
Okay, I sent you a challenge.
Hey, I sent you one too, so hopefully it'll work.
It says, oh.
I also had this thing called Discord challenge on there. I'm like, wonder what that is. Oh, for those of you who are wondering, this is what Tina has been calling New Expanded. I guess it isn't going to matter. Our numbers showed up. There we go. Much as I try not to publicly post our numbers, it happened anyway.
It's whatever. Like I said, to actually challenge each other, you have to challenge each other at the exact same time in this game. So, that's a thing.
Actually, I will keep
And
this.
so, guys, super expanded, we're going to be playing Magic Arena.
Okay, I guess I'll do this then.
I mean, this would be kind of ironic if you win, because I've been beating your face in with Pokemon the last few events.
faster than the last time I played this, so that's pretty good. Then again, it may be the computer I've been using before. Poops a doodle.
Get a land though. You can get another mountain. Why do I think you're playing Burn?
I am.
Let's see if you're worthy.
I'm not.
The wilds are my shield.
Oh well. She asked if I was worthy. I told her I'm not. Okay, no.
Are you worthy? I'm not.
I know what I'm not capable of. Thank you.
Do one to my planeswalker. You can do one to me. Yeah. That's okay.
You can't stop nature.
I pee on your nature. My pee. Well, that torqued. Oh, flying, great.
You don't like flying?
My newest friend.
Oh, I put stuff in here to stop that. I just didn't put a lot in here to stop that.
Sorry to hear that. Sure, I'll hit you for 2. Okay. If you didn't put a lot to stop flying, you're not gonna like my deck. See, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Time.
Oh, poopies. That's gonna tingle.
Poopies? What do you mean by poopies? You just played a 9-3. What are you complaining about?
You're getting summoning sickness.
We're summoning sickness. You don't like this?
That's why I play for fun and not for points or anything. I stopped doing that over a decade ago.
Oh, I don't even play Magic! I don't even play Magic. I started playing this game for fun. You don't want trample, right? Nope.
It decided on its own. Oh, it did it on its own, though. That stupid thing.
I've indestructible.
I know, I saw that, but it did it on its own. I don't know why it did that.
Oh, that's not my fault that I've been destructible. That's your fault.
It's your turn, so what does it matter?
You mean it doesn't matter? This matters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, this isn't a tingle. Huh. You don't play magic, she says, everybody.
Come to me.
I don't! You want the truth? I actually don't.
I literally just installed this on this computer.
I thought you were Mr. I built a deck when I was at my store a few days ago.
I did! This is the deck, thanks! Huh. Okay, so what are they going to do by themselves, I assume, because they're not listening to me. Really? That's what you're going to do? What is going on here?
I'm declaring blockers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter anyway. I've been destructible.
I've seen things that would break someone like you.
I'm so used to it not moving like that that it's just... I'm used to, like, paper cards.
I'm gonna give you one more turn to live because I like you.
Ha! I was gonna say, the next game I'm switching to a pre-made deck.
I have to deal with my oozes. Actually, the pre-made decks in this game are really good. I mean, they're actually playable.
I literally have nothing. Oh wow, that sucks.
See. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Balance comes.
There should have been some time travel happening here. Switching decks.
Switching decks. Do you want me to play another deck?
You can do what you want. I'm switching decks.
I'll play another deck.
I like this one.
Did you not like that?
What is Discord challenge? I see that, and I have no idea what it is. Anyway, a challenge
I don't know
sent.
what that is. Okay, let's play this. What do you mean I don't play Magic? I told you I don't play Magic. What part of I don't play Magic don't you understand?
So I was like, I feel like Discord challenge might be like, you on your Discord, it like says you're looking for opponents or something.
I think I know what this deck is. If this is the pre-built red deck.
Right, it is. I actually enjoy this deck. I actually bought it. Oh, I don't know why I did that. I don't even have enough thing. Cancel. Yes, I'll do that. Ready. Ugh. This is why I can't have nice things. Okay.
This is why you can't have nice things.
Actually, hold on. Hold that thought.
I hate that card. Ouch. That's not nice.
Oh, poop. Take me down to 2, right? Oh, wait, what? I thought I did it. That's a lie.
You can block the 7/7.
I wasn't quite sure how to do it. I was tapping the wrong thing.
You just draw lines with your mouse.
Hmm. Hey! I feel like your game is on autopilot.
That's how it is with some of these decks. How much are you doing to me? 2, 3, 6, 7?
Well, negative 19 is better than negative 84, what I think it was last time.
Negative 40 something, yeah.
I didn't even knock out a Pokemon.
Ready?
Oh, I'm killing this game. I'm turning it off. Okay.
Turning it off!
I'm done. I got things to do, and it's not getting my butt handed to me a couple more times. Oh.
And I have like 5 or 6 more attacks.
No. Oh, that can go off. Okay. Well, okay, that's it for today, peeps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, it's at HaslageNet or follow at HaslageNet and at Home of Mew. You can find Home of Mew on Twitch, and you can find HaslageNet on YouTube and Twitch, and you could probably find all of them somewhere else too. So, is there anything you want to say before we go, Tina?
Yeah, don't ask your opponent to scoop, and don't ask for anything, and say, hey, I'll scoop to you for the mat. That's not cool either. Or don't be like, hey, I'll scoop to you for $100. That's also really bad.
Yeah, it's called bribery, yes.
Yeah, so bribery bad, asking for the win bad.
Okay, so we'll see you all next time. So thanks for watching, and good night.
Good night, guys.